Good morning, everyone. My name is John Konarski, publisher of In Business Magazine, and welcome to our second in a series of 4 Icons in Business events here in 2021. We're back one more time in a virtual platform this year, but assuming that we have no setbacks in the lifting of event restrictions, we are excited to say that we're planning to be back in person for the final 2 Icons events this year. So be on the lookout for more information in the coming weeks ahead. We're thrilled, though, that we've been able to continue onward with this event series during the pandemic and bring you the iconic speakers and companies that you all have come to expect over the 11 years that we've been hosting Icons in Business. This quarterly series was formed to showcase local iconic companies, organizations, and people influencing the business landscape. We've always had our speakers share with us the valuable lessons they've learned, as well as the current challenges and opportunities they're facing leading these iconic companies and brands. Today, we get the privilege of hearing from Jeff Keebler, Chairman, President, and CEO of Madison Gas and Electric, a company that has literally been powering the Madison area for over 150 years. So I think it is safe to call MG&E an iconic local company in its truest sense. Jeff will share insights into the company's long history serving the Madison area, the current challenges it faces, as well as the opportunities that renewable energies are providing them. We're excited that Jeff accepted our invitation to speak at this virtual Icons event, and we'll turn things over to him in just a few minutes here. But before we do, I'd like to thank our sponsors of this year's Icon series that make this all possible here today. Our presenting sponsor is WPS Health Solutions. For 75 years, WPS has been a leader in the insurance industry and a nationally regarded health benefits administrator for Medicare and TRICARE beneficiaries. WPS Health Solutions, saluting the past, embracing the future. Today, I'd like to welcome in Deanne Begley, Vice President of Communications for WPS Health Solutions, to share a brief message on their behalf.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deanne Begley, and I'm the Vice President of Communications at WPS Health Solutions. WPS is proud to be sponsoring today's Icons in Business presentation. Before we hear from our keynote speaker, Jeff Keebler, I'd like to share some details about one of the latest contracts awarded to WPS. As you may have heard, the Department of Defense awarded WPS the new $383 million TRICARE Medicare Eligible Program contract. WPS will process claims and provide customer support for TRICARE for Life beneficiaries for health services received in the United States and its territories, continuing the work we've been entrusted with since 2004. WPS was founded in 1946 to help veterans returning from World War II afford the health care they needed. As we celebrate our 75th anniversary, we're honored to continue delivering outstanding service to our military, veterans, and their families. Now I'd like to introduce you to today's keynote speaker, Jeff Keebler, Chairman, President, and CEO of Madison Gas and Electric. Jeff will be sharing information on MG&E's history, the challenges it faces, and the opportunities renewable energy provides. Energy efficiency and sustainability are important to our planet and to our business's bottom line. Since 2017, WPS has completed more than 25 projects and equipment upgrades to increase the energy efficiency in our facilities and operations. Our 2020 initiatives included installing high-efficiency boilers in one office building, solar panels on our maintenance garage, and electric vehicle charging stations on our Madison campus. 2 of our Madison buildings earned Energy Star certification last year. I'm looking forward to hearing what Jeff has to say about renewable energy opportunities. I'm sure you are too. I hope you enjoy today's webinar. From everyone at WPS, thank you for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you, Deanne, and to the WPS Health Solutions team. I'd also like to acknowledge our premier sponsors of this year's Icons event series. Our first premier sponsor is Action Coach. If you're an owner or leader who wants to make more money in your business and regain the freedom that comes from running your business, that's what Action Coach does. Even in an extremely difficult year, its community members were up an average of over 20% in net profit. The model works across industries and company sizes. Visit makemoreworkless.actioncoach.com for details. Our second premier sponsor is Baker Tilly. a leading advisory, tax, and assurance firm dedicated to building long-lasting relationships and helping you win now and anticipate tomorrow. And last but not least, our third premier sponsor is the Madison Concourse Hotel. This is Madison's premier hotel located in the heart of downtown, and we are really excited to get back into their facility here during the second half of this year for this Icon series. But a very special thank you to all of our sponsors for their flexibility during these past 15 months or so as we've had to adapt to this virtual format during the pandemic. Before I introduce Jeff here this morning, one quick announcement. We will be holding a live Q&A with Jeff at the conclusion of the program here today. So if you have questions during the presentation, please add them to the chat box that you see on your event screen, and we'll try to get through as many of those as time allows at the conclusion of our program here this morning. All right, well, it's time to introduce our speaker, Jeff Keebler. Jeff has been president and CEO of MGE Energy and MGE, its subsidiary, since March of 2017. He became chairman of the boards of directors of both companies in October of 2018. Prior to being named president and CEO, Jeff was the senior vice president of energy supply and planning for the company. And through his 25 years of experience at MGE, he has held various roles, including energy trading, energy supply, rates, generation planning, information technology, human resources, customer service, and legislative affairs. Pretty well-rounded, I would say, with experience throughout the company. Jeff holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Finance and Economics from UW-La Crosse and an MBA from UW-Whitewater. He currently serves on the Board of Trustees for University Research Park, the Board of Directors for the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce, the United Way of Dane County, and American Transmission Company. And we are thrilled to have him joining us here today for this Icons in Business presentation. So let me welcome in Jeff Keebler.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me virtually today. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, WPS, for bringing us together for this discussion. And thank you to In Business for inviting me to present and for its work to keep the greater Madison business community informed and engaged. I'm Jeff Keebler, Chairman, President, and CEO of Madison Gas and Electric. Today, I will spend most of our time talking about the future, in particular about climate change and MGE's net zero carbon goals, what actions and activities we are doing today, and how we can work together to accomplish our shared goals. Before we discuss where MGE is going and how we're working to transform our community grid and achieve net zero carbon electricity, I'd like to share a little background on who we are and how we approach our service to our customers and our community, and I will discuss our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of you likely know MGE as your community energy company. As a critical services provider, we take our mission and how we fulfill it very seriously. MGE generates and distributes electricity to 157,000 customers in Dane County and serves 166,000 gas customers throughout Southwest Wisconsin. Most of our customers are located right here in Dane County. We have a long history in this community. Our headquarters is in downtown Madison. You've likely seen our green and white trucks traveling throughout the city and surrounding suburbs. MGE has more than 700 employees. Most of them work out of our downtown Madison campus, though we also have a training center in Fitchburg, our power plants, and employees who work out of our district offices in Southwest Wisconsin, where we provide natural gas service to multiple communities. From our employees who work in the field to our customer service representatives in our local call center, our employees are often the families, friends, and neighbors of those we serve. You may know someone who works in MGE. Meeting our customers where they are and ensuring they experience us as their community energy company is at the core of our mission. It is important to us that we constantly challenge ourselves to be even more inclusive and equitable in how we serve, partner, and engage our communities. Now let me turn to our COVID-19 response. Like many of you, this past year of working through the COVID-19 pandemic has been unlike any other. It has required businesses and organizations to adapt to the changing conditions. We have had two primary focuses with our response to the pandemic. First, safety. employee safety, customer safety, and community safety. Safety is always our top priority. Second, community support. As your community energy company, we are all about service, and that means for everyone in our community. We made it a priority to connect with our richly diverse customer base and our many community partners to listen and to understand the challenges our customers were facing, and to find ways to support and partner during extraordinary times. This support goes way beyond how we provide gas and electric service. I will talk more about this in a few minutes. We take our responsibility to this community very seriously, and our employees who work to provide energy 24/7, 365 days a year understand this commitment. We adjusted work patterns and practices to keep the public and our employees safe, and to keep our community served reliably, including other critical organizations and businesses, throughout the pandemic, when many in our community were learning and working at home. About half of our employees are remote enabled and have been working from home. The other half have been on site throughout the pandemic. These employees are MGE&E's primary gas, electric, and energy production operations and support teams. To keep them safe, we adjusted many work practices. We segmented employees into small work teams. We modified work schedules and reporting sites to limit physical interaction. We acquired additional personal protection equipment and worked through sometimes conflicting rules. One example of this, some jobs require our employees to wear fire-resistant clothing. We also required wearing masks. Masks made of fire-resistant material did not exist, so we had to work with our fire-resistant clothing supplier to make fire-resistant masks for us to use in those situations. We also instituted safety guidelines for employees and contractors who might interact with customers while performing their job duties. For example, if a customer were to report the smell of gas, our crews would need to respond and likely interact with others on site. Safety is our top priority, always. We have a vision statement at MGE&E. It is, we power safety, work safe, home safe. This statement took on additional meaning during the pandemic. When it was developed by our employees 7 years ago, it did not anticipate a global pandemic, but it turned out to be very appropriate for our response during the pandemic. So what now? The situation surrounding COVID-19 continues to evolve, and we continue to follow the guidance from the CDC and Wisconsin DHS for all of our employees. We have learned a lot about how we operate as a business, as departments, and as individuals. As we transition back to non-pandemic business processes, we will keep those things that work well and return to those that were better before. I've talked quite a bit about the past year and in some of the ways in which MGE&E responded to the pandemic. I'd like to talk now about our future as a company and as a community engaged in energy. We talk frequently at MGE&E about becoming a utility of the future. The energy industry is evolving rapidly, and we're evolving too. We're committed to our fundamentals: safe, reliable, affordable energy, and increasingly more sustainable energy. We're building what we call your community energy company for the future. So what does this mean? We're greening our community grid by growing our use of renewable resources. We've announced a number of clean energy projects this year, and I'll go into deeper detail about those shortly. We're growing our use of new technologies for the benefit of all customers. For example, we've expanded our efforts to facilitate the use of smart thermostats. And we're engaging customers in energy in new and innovative ways. We've said since introducing our clean energy goals, we'll get there by working with our customers. And if we can go further, faster, we will. Our community grid, our electric grid, is at the center of this transformation into a utility of the future. We all know the grid powers our households, our businesses, our schools, and hospitals. It helps to sustain the health and vitality of our community and its economy. Locally, MGE&E oversees the grid, ensuring everything connected to it works together to provide safe and reliable service, distributing electricity to all of our customers. We describe this by saying that MGE&E is the conductor of the grid. And with the evolution of new technologies, our community grid is becoming more dynamic, more interconnected, and more sustainable with cleaner sources of energy. This technological transformation is also opening tremendous opportunity to manage our collective energy use in new, innovative ways, which will help us lower our carbon emissions. At MGE, we're building, integrating, balancing, and optimizing these resources and new technologies to serve our customers seamlessly and cost effectively for decades to come. As we make this transition, we also remain committed to our top-ranked electric reliability. MGE is ranked in the top 3 utilities in the nation for electric reliability for the fewest number of outages in each of the last 13 years. 2 years ago, MGE was one of the first utilities in the nation to announce a goal of net zero carbon electricity by 2050. When we announced our net zero goal, we enlisted the help of climate experts at UW-Madison's Nelson Institute for Environmental Studies to do an independent analysis of our goal. We wanted to ensure our goal is consistent with the latest climate science. Last fall, Dr. Tracy Holloway, who we will hear from momentarily, released the analysis of our goal. She used climate modeling available through the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, and found our net zero carbon goal is aggressive and is in line with the latest climate science. Dr. Holloway discusses her findings in a brief video put together when the report was issued. You will also hear a couple comments from me in the video.
My name is Professor Tracy Holloway. I'm at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the Nelson Institute for Environmental Study and the Department of Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences. My background is computer modeling of the atmosphere, and I'm especially interested in how these advanced computer models can help us make decisions about energy use. And when we're thinking about climate goals, what we're really thinking about is how much global warming can we deal with as a planet. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, has set that level at about 1.5 degrees Celsius. In 2019, MGE announced a plan for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. MGE asked us to conduct an independent analysis of the net zero carbon plan. We really came in as independent analysts. This is what we do in science. Science is all about taking a critical eye and using the best available information to solve a problem. We looked at computer model results from around the world that were published as part of a report from the IPCC. What do those computer models tell us that countries like the US have to do between now and 2050 to limit climate change? And what we found is that all of the models showed that significant carbon reductions were necessary. But the rate of those carbon reductions and the 2050 endpoint was right in line with what MGE had already planned. So MGE's policy is right in line and even a little more aggressive than what these computer models suggest.
Dr. Holloway's report gives us a valuable input and expert perspective as we continue down our path towards deep decarbonization. We're working to decarbonize our electric generation by growing our use of renewable energy. We're also advancing electric vehicles. Transportation is the leading contributor of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. We're doing everything we can today to cost-effectively reduce carbon emissions as quickly as we can. Our goal is ambitious, but we're committed to it. As your community energy company, MGE is part of this community. We have a responsibility to those we serve, and we're making decisions every day to achieve our sustainability goals and to meet the needs of our customers and communities who rely on us.
The solutions to reducing carbon emissions from Madison, from Wisconsin, around the world, these are not reliant on any one company doing one thing. This is something where we all have to work together and think about what kind of a community we want and how can we get there in the best way.
We're working every day towards net zero carbon, but have said since introducing our carbon reduction goals that if we can go further, faster, by working with our customers, we will. Our goals signal our direction, but do not determine our pace. So how will we achieve net zero carbon electricity? Well, we have a three-pronged strategy, and this is the same strategy called for by climate scientists. through the Paris Agreement and the associated U.S. Mid-Century Strategy for Deep Decarbonization, as well as the IPCC report. We are decarbonizing our energy supply. We're engaging our customers around energy efficiency to manage our collective energy use. And we're advancing the electrification of transportation and other end uses. In 2015, we introduced our Energy 2030 framework for a more sustainable future. It set clean energy goals and established foundational objectives to guide our work with customers. These objectives are centered around our energy supply transition, engineering and operating our grid to optimize everything connected to it, and most importantly, around our community. Providing customers products and services to allow them to control their energy use, deepening our engagement with our community so that we can serve in the ways they want and need to be served, and ensuring all customers benefit from new technologies in this ongoing transition to cleaner energy. I want to dive a little deeper into our work to achieve deep carbon reductions by decarbonizing our energy supply. Even working through a pandemic, we've been busy making progress on our goals. Within the last year, we have announced the early retirement of the coal-fired Columbia Energy Center and made investments in clean energy projects to serve all of our customers. We're on target to reduce carbon emissions by at least 65% by 2030 and to grow our owned renewable capacity by more than 960% by year-end 2024. I want to take just a minute to discuss the UW analysis and explain why we have set our 2030 carbon reduction goal to at least 65% reduction. This chart shows the carbon emission reductions necessary by the energy industry based on various models from the IPCC analysis. This chart found in the UW report, which is on our website. This is a large scale or global modeling with 5-year granularity, so individual years are interpolated. It shows substantial reductions necessary starting between 2015 and 2020, with most reductions occurring by 2030. Between 2030 and 2050, additional reductions are squeezed out of the generation mix, but at a lower rate than in this decade. Said another way, the slope of the carbon reduction line is increased substantially and remains at that steeper slope until 2030. After 2030, the slope of the line is reduced, meaning less carbon reduction is needed during the 2030 to 2050 timeline. MG&E set our goal of at least 65% reduction to align with the scientific modeling. 65% is shown by the yellow line on the chart. You can see at 2030, the yellow line is at 65% reduction. When we say if we can go further, faster, we will, that is to meet or exceed the carbon reductions from the other IPCC models represented by the other color lines on the chart. So a couple of additional takeaways from the modeling. All of the models show dramatic reductions are necessary. Most don't require net zero. You can see that from the chart, the lines are ranging from 87%, which is the yellow and green lines, to 99%, which is the red line, in the year 2050. So you will continue to hear a lot of national discussion over the specific years the United States should achieve net zero carbon emissions. Should it be 2035, 2040, 2045, or 2050? In reality, the majority of reductions in any model are made by 2030, and MG&E's framework is aligned to these reductions. This is why our time is best spent accomplishing the major reductions we need between now and 2030. And that is what MG&E is doing today. We are moving, and we will continue to move as far and as fast as possible. Now, I don't want to imply that post-2030 reductions are not important, because they are. We also know that new technology will continue to develop and evolve, and those technologies will be instrumental in future carbon reduction. We constantly evaluate technologies and adopt them as they become commercially available. We try and we test them to understand how they can help us build the utility grid of the future and benefit our community in our transition to net zero carbon electricity. So now I'm going to turn to these technologies we are implementing today, starting with renewable energy. As we're growing our use of renewables, we're retiring older fossil fuel assets. I mentioned our planned retirement of the Columbia Power Plant near Portage. MG&E co-owns the plant with Alliant and Wisconsin Public Service Company. Columbia supplies enough energy to serve about 1/3 of our customers' energy needs. This plant, which began producing power in the 1970s, has been a workhorse for MG&E over the years, and its retirement will substantially reduce our carbon emissions. The plant was expected to retire in 2 phases in the mid to late 2030s. By working with our co-owners, we have determined that we can retire the plant by the end of 2024. That is almost 15 years earlier than expected. This is a major step forward towards meeting our carbon reduction goals, and it is cost effective to retire it on this timeline. Solar energy has improved and has become more cost effective in recent years, especially at the utility scale. A number of our projects will also include battery storage, which is a newer technology that will help to ensure reliability as we grow our use of renewable energy. Battery storage will also help us manage our long-term costs. In the last few months, we've announced investments in solar and battery storage projects throughout Wisconsin that will help power tens of thousands of MG&E households each year. This is an exciting time for clean energy in Wisconsin. We're also adding to our wind energy portfolio with plans to purchase a 10% share of the Red Barn Wind Farm in southwest Wisconsin. These clean energy projects offer cost-effective, Wisconsin-grown clean energy, replacement power for retiring coal-fired generation, and access to energy for all of our customers. And we're partnering with some of our larger customers to grow renewables within our community. This year, we expect to bring online nearly 30 megawatts of new distributed solar energy to serve customers through renewable energy rider agreements. Our renewable energy rider program enables MG&E to work with large customers that tailor a renewable energy solution to meet their needs. This year, our largest renewable energy rider solar project, the O'Brien Solar Fields, will deliver 20 megawatts of local solar to several large customers, including the state of Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin, and the city of Fitchburg under renewable energy rider agreements. This project just came online a couple of weeks ago. We're also partnering with the city of Madison and the Madison Metropolitan School District on a proposed 8 megawatt array in Madison that we expect online at the end of the year, if it's approved. Our Dane County Airport solar project came online late last year to serve the county with 9 megawatts of solar energy. And our Maury Field solar project is serving the city of Middleton and the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District, as well as residential and small business customers enrolled in our community solar program, Shared Solar. That project began generating last summer. Here's a look at the project with one of our renewable energy engineers at MG&E.
Well, we have over 17,000 solar panels here on 21 acres of land on the airport property. And the plant is rated at 5 megawatts AC, so it can produce 5 megawatts AC in the middle of the day during the peak times. This system is directly connected to the MG&E distribution grid. This will serve our shared solar customers, the city of Middleton, and the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District. This site has a single access tracking system. What that means is that the panels will continue to move throughout the day to track to the sun. The trackers have motors underneath them that actually move the panels. They have their own power through solar, and they also have sensors that know where the sunlight is so they can track to the sun. That means that this plant will be more efficient, and it also reduces the possibility of ever providing glare to any of the pilots. The collection system here, that's a series of cables, the red and white cables that are here, go over to the inverter. The inverter consists of electronics that take the DC and quickly switch it to turn it into AC. The electronics ensure that we maintain good power quality. From the inverter, it goes into a typical transformer. The transformer steps the voltage up to 13.8 kV, which is the voltage on our distribution system. This site communicates with our MG&E EMS system. The EMS system is our energy management system. MG&E is able to see exactly what this is producing at any point in time. And sometime in the near future, our customers will be able to look online and see the amount of energy that this plant is producing. The siting of a solar project on airport property is a really good pairing because you can see the profile of the solar facility is pretty low. You can't have tall structures near an airport. So it works really good from that perspective. You'll note that the panels have an anti-glare coating on them. That helps to both improve the efficiency of the panel by collecting more light and directing that towards the photovoltaic cells, but it also reduces the glare that the pilots would see. The plantings that we put in here will preserve the land and in fact in some ways improve the soil conditions. So if at some point in time we decided to remove the solar facility, say for different technology, the land would actually be in better condition than it was before we put the solar facility on it. I'm really excited about this project. It's the largest project that we've built so far. It's right in the Madison area. It's good to have the power right near the customers that you're serving it with. There's less losses, it's more efficient that way. MG&E customers have been asking for this type of energy. The MG&E employees are supportive of the project and our shareholders. It's a great project.
The addition of the Morreyfield array gave us the opportunity to expand the shared solar program. Shared solar gives customers the option to purchase shares of local solar at minimal upfront cost. 2 solar arrays in Middleton serve our participating residential customers and business customers. Shared solar is also helping to power 2 lower-income apartment buildings operated by the City of Madison Community Development Authority. In addition to our community solar program, MG&E's Green Power Tomorrow program gives MG&E business and residential electric customers the option to power up to 100% of their electric usage with wind and solar power. Nearly 10,000 customers participate in what we call GPT. Clean energy is one of our strategies for achieving deep carbon reductions. Another is energy efficiency. Managing our collective energy use and using smart technologies in partnership with our customers to manage the grid for greater efficiency and value. Our Smart Thermostat Demand Response Program, MG&E Connect, expanded this spring to connect even more residential customers' smart thermostats to our community grid. Participating customers allow MG&E to adjust their thermostats during times of peak demand in the summer, when everyone is using more electricity. Peak demand puts strain on the grid. MG&E Connect helps us to manage demand on the grid during those peak periods. It's kind of like relieving traffic congestion on the highway during rush hour. Managing demand through the use of smart technologies helps us to optimize grid resources and to manage costs long term. We have partnered with Focus on Energy and Project Home to provide and install smart thermostats in lower income households in our area. Technologies such as smart thermostats make saving energy easy. Our third strategy to achieve deep decarbonization is electrification. Advancing electric transportation is key to creating a more sustainable future for our community and for our planet. Transportation accounts for almost 30% of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. It's also the leading contributor of greenhouse gas emissions here in Dane County. MG&E works with local stakeholders and our customers, such as employers and multifamily property managers, for example, to facilitate charging options. We're doing the same within MG&E. We have charging stations available for employees. We've been testing commercially available fleet operations electric vehicles for more than a decade. Our experience with EVs helps us to inform our business customers who are looking to incorporate EVs into their fleets. With more models becoming available every year, we've announced last year our goal of having 100% all-electric or plug-in hybrid light-duty vehicles in our fleet by 2030. You might see one of our meter and connection crews in one of our plug-in hybrids. Most charging happens at home, which is why we launched our electric vehicle home charging program, Charge at Home, which makes home charging faster and easier. The program continues to grow as EVs grow in variety and in popularity. Charge at Home offers Level 2 home chargers for a low monthly fee. Level 2 chargers enable faster charging than with a standard outlet. Charge at Home also gives MG&E the opportunity to manage customers' electric vehicle charging and its impact on our community grid as the use of electric vehicles grows. MG&E has worked for more than 10 years to build and expand our wind-powered public charging network. We also continue to develop customer programs to support the growing number of electric vehicles on the road. We have online resources to help customers compare EV models, to evaluate fuel cost savings, and to find local dealerships and charging stations, and more. With our Love EV website, we have worked to create a one-stop resource for customers to learn about EVs, their benefits, and how and where to fuel them easily and cost-effectively. For example, we're building an electric vehicle charging hub in the heart of downtown Madison this summer. With some of the fastest charging stations in the Midwest, our EV charging hub in the Capital East District will help meet the charging needs of nearby residents and downtown commuters, business fleets, taxi and ride-sharing services, and more. It will have several charging stations as well as Tesla superchargers. You'll be able to find it at South Livingston Street and East Washington Avenue later this year. We also have an ongoing partnership with Madison Metro Transit, which is adding its first 3 electric buses to its fleet. We worked with Metro to help secure a federal grant for the buses and have installed charging infrastructure to power the buses, which have 0 tailpipe emissions. If possible, some of your workplaces have EV charging stations on site, perhaps for employees or for fleet vehicles. MG&E partners with our business customers to help them understand the benefits of going electric and can provide a fleet analysis, including estimated cost savings, environmental benefits, and recommendations for electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. And for employers that want to offer EV charging on site, MG&E also can help conduct employee surveys to engage interest, estimate the bill impacts of offering charging stations, and assist with adding charging stations. We know how important reliable energy is to our business community. We also offer a number of other resources for business customers, including enhanced electric reliability, such as backup generation for businesses that request it. Helping our business customers be more energy efficient is also a top priority at MG&E. Last year, we launched an enhanced online benchmarking tool that allows customers to compare their energy use. And our on-demand savings program offers large customers tools and strategies to reduce their energy use, especially peak periods when demand for electricity is at its peak. The program uses an online dashboard to give customers near real-time energy usage information, which helps them act to cut costs and reduce their environmental footprint. Some additional features of the program include alert notifications via email or text when their building load exceeds a specific threshold, monthly energy challenges that allow participants to set monthly demand and energy goals that are tracked in the system, and energy markers that provide participants with the ability to track energy performance from a specific project or milestone before and after a specified date. And the program is working. A recent third-party evaluation showed an average demand reduction of 7.1% for new customers who had enrolled in the program in 2017 and 2018. In addition to having a dedicated team of employees who work with our business and commercial customers, MG&E also has a group of employees focused on engaging our residential customer and other customers throughout our community. MG&E works with more than 200 nonprofit organizations using a partnership approach to serving our common customers and working together to achieve shared goals. MG&E's residential and community services team is constantly working to meet customers where they are. In recent months, those efforts have temporarily shifted to a virtual environment. But our employees remain committed to having a presence in our community, in person or otherwise, meeting with customers either one-on-one or through community events, to share information and resources, to help customers be energy wise, to growing clean energy, to assist with new technologies, and more. We serve a multicultural community. Our diversity is part of what makes Madison strong and dynamic. Our residential and community services team seeks to connect with our diverse customer base in many different ways. From community energy workshops to culturally competent websites and other materials, through partnerships with local organizations and other ways. It's highly important to MG&E as your community energy company that we continue to meet customers where they are. Our residential and community services team also manages our home energy line. Customers can call the line to speak with an energy expert. They can also email the team. It has been a long-standing resource of ours for customers to ask questions, whether simple or complex, and get answers from our experts. And we work closely with our statewide energy efficiency partner, Focus on Energy. Our residential and community services team distributes free energy saving kits to households through this partnership with Focus on Energy. Before we open it up to questions, I wanted to talk briefly about the other ways in which MG&E seeks to be a partner throughout our community, beyond energy. We also seek to live our values by helping to improve the quality of life for our customers and the communities we serve. Our philanthropic arm, the MG&E Foundation, helps to support hundreds of community organizations, and we are active participants in the United Way of Dane County. Many of our employees also serve as volunteers in the communities we serve. This might be one of the reasons you know someone from MG&E, through their community service. We're privileged to have employees who demonstrate their commitment to this community through service and volunteerism. We also have an active economic development team that is dedicated to helping support a robust economy where businesses can thrive and grow. The team is a resource for existing businesses as well as emerging companies and startups. So I've shared quite a bit about us, and I hope you walk away with a better idea of how we're here to serve and be a resource for you, your organization, and our broader community. This is an exciting period in energy and at MG&E as technologies continue to evolve and become more cost-effective, as we transform how we serve this community and how we work with our customers. Thank you for joining me today, and thanks again to InBusiness and WPS for providing a forum for us to gather virtually, and I look forward to answering some questions.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for that very enlightening presentation here this morning. As I promised earlier, we are now going to go live with Jeff here today, as he'll be taking some of the questions that you've submitted during the program. So let me welcome back in Jeff Keebler for the live Q&A.
Let me start with a question that I've received from a number of people. It's a question I've gotten only since February this year, but as you may know, there were some reliability issues in Texas. And so a question that I receive a lot is, what is the difference between Texas and Wisconsin, and how can we assure that we're not going to have the same reliability issues that we heard about on the news in Texas? And so there are a number of differences between Texas and Wisconsin in the makeup of the system, in how the system operates. One is Texas is a system on their own, so they're not connected to other parts. And so Wisconsin is connected to what we call the Eastern Interconnection. So basically, if you think about the Rocky Mountains to the East Coast, we're tied into a system, a transmission system with that. So that is one of the major issues, or one of the major differences. Another thing we heard a lot about was weatherization of equipment, that in Texas they didn't have a lot of weatherization of equipment, and we do weatherize all of our equipment. So I think there are a number of structural issues that are different between Texas and Wisconsin. In terms of how we plan for our usage and how we transition, so a lot of people ask about how are we going to transition from current fossil fuel to new renewable environment, and how do we maintain and manage reliability with that? And so a lot of those questions get into our planning process. And when we look at planning, we look at many different scenarios. We look at many different things that are going to happen, transmission system failures, generation failures, those sorts of things, to make sure that we can serve our customers in any environment. One of the things that we look at a lot is the dispatchability of generation. So with traditional generation, we're able to turn it on, ramp it up, ramp it down, and meet the load or the demand, customer demand, as our customers are using it. With new generation, the amount of electricity generated really is determined by the sun and the wind when you talk about wind and solar. So we need to have dispatchability in our generation mix to be able to manage that. And that's what we're using batteries for, and then other technology I believe will happen as well. And the last thing on that question is we do have strong relationships and strong partnerships with our regulatory environment, so the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin, our transmission provider, American Transmission Company, and others that we work together, and we have planning criteria we all have to meet to make sure that we can continue to serve our customers. So that is kind of how we look at it and how we're different than what Texas is. So the next question says there are more alternative energy sources than just solar, wind, natural gas, hydroelectric, and geothermal. While tidal energy and wave energy may not be realistic for a state like Wisconsin, what is the likelihood in the future for Wisconsin of being able to utilize additional alternative energy sources like hydrogen gas, biomass, and biofuels? So good question. This actually ties in the answer on the question from Texas. We are always looking for new technology, and one of the things that we believe is that new technology will develop. Hydrogen is something that we think will develop. There might be carbon capture and sequestration at the site, and so that we may be able to continue to use some of the resources that we have today without emitting carbon. And so a lot of things are coming down the road. I do think the items that were talked about there with hydrogen, with biomass, with biofuels, those actually provide the dispatchability. So what I mean by that is the ability to control the generation. Think about it like your gas pedal on a car. Sometimes you need to go faster, sometimes you need to go slower. And when we have dispatchable generation, that's what we're able to do. With renewable energy, we are less able to do that. We can only drop it back, but that's all we can do. We can't increase that more than what the wind and solar are producing. So those are things that we are looking at, and a lot of work, R&D work, is happening on other technologies. One of the reasons that we're looking at our goals the way we are is we need to make sure that we can serve customers today, tomorrow, and into the future with all of the different generation resources. And so having a well thought through plan and strategy of how we're going to do that while maintaining safety, reliability, resiliency, and making sure we're doing it in an economic fashion is what we're looking at. So those are the things that we're working on. And so there is a use for that. So the next question is, do you think the pandemic will have an impact, either positive or negative, on any of your 2030 or 2050 goals for reducing carbon electricity? So when I think about that question, my first answer is no. I don't think it has any impact. I do think there could be that there could have been some impact over the last year. And I like to say, in spite of a pandemic, we've made a lot of strides. We've announced retirement of our Columbia coal-fired plant. We've introduced a lot of new projects, primarily solar, but some wind and battery technology that we're in the process of implementing today. So those things, I think, may have been helped a little bit because we had focused ability to get those things done. And long term, I don't see any change in our ability to meet our 2030 and 2050 goals. I do, however, see some potential positive benefit. I don't have facts and data to support this, so take it as my opinion. But I do think as people have been working remotely, they've been investing more in their homes. They've looked at more energy efficiency. They've looked at smart thermostats, those sorts of things. And we've seen electric vehicles really take off. And I think part of that is because people have been home and been able to spend the time on that. So I do think from the three-prong approach that I talked earlier, the cleaning of the generation, I don't see a major long-term impact with that. But with the energy efficiency as well as the electrification, there could be some positive things that come out of the pandemic with that. The next question I'm going to go to is, it seems that as we convert buildings and vehicles away from fossil fuels, there will be a significant increase in the requirement for electricity. I think that's correct. I'm going to define requirement just so I make sure that I'm answering the question or giving you the answer that you think you're asking for. So as a requirement, I'm using that as usage. So customer usage will go up. So as we transition to more away from fossil fuel, a good example of that, I know that the question was about buildings, but a good example of that is vehicles. So as we transition away from internal combustion engines and using gasoline and we transition to electricity, we have more electricity need in our community. A couple of things with that. The first one is we're prepared and we're ready to support that need. We can develop our system in a way that, and we have been working on developing our system in a way that allows for that. In fact, when we introduced our Energy 2030 plan in 2015, we talked about it from a non-engineer perspective. What we talk about there is going from a one-way power flow to a two-way power flow, which means that we're developing our grid in a way that we can support and adapt to any of our changing customer needs. So as we see more electric use, we will be ready to supply that use and to support that use. As we see that use happening in different ways with electric transportation, with different ways that people use energy in the future, we'll be there to support that usage. One of the things that I try to explain, and hopefully I don't confuse anyone, but one of the benefits of increased electric usage is we will need to build incremental generation to serve that increased electric usage. And that incremental generation will be non-carbon based generation for that incremental usage. So it actually has the ability to allow us to go faster and go farther as we see incremental usage of the electric system and incremental usage of electricity. So I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to go forward and talk about this question. While nuclear power brings with it some significant risks if something goes wrong at a nuclear power plant, nuclear also has some undeniable benefits in terms of emissions and efficiency, and while also boosting the economy by creating jobs in plant creation and operation. Why aren't we exploring and investing more in nuclear power? It seems like we've largely given up on it as a power source. So nuclear is tricky. I think when you think about nuclear, and the question mentioned the risk associated with nuclear. So you have the technology risk and what happens with nuclear if it were to get outside of the plant. The technology controls and everything are designed to do that, but we have seen issues and incidents in the past. The other part with nuclear is there's a rather large financial risk associated with it. So there's a plant that's being developed right now in South Carolina that is way over budget, way delayed. We don't know how, I don't know how long it's going to take to get it done, but they're talking about billions and billions of dollars that we're looking at, or MG&E, but the company that's building that are looking at investing in that plant. So when we think about nuclear, there are a couple of value streams or benefits that nuclear brings. First off, it is non-carbon based, so that is very good. Second is it provides 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week power. So a nuclear plant is generally on unless it's down for some planned maintenance event. It doesn't occur very often. So when we talk nuclear, it's a constant stream of energy, which is what we need. It provides a little bit of dispatchability. It hasn't really done that in the past because the cost of it is so low from an energy perspective. Building it really expensive, using it is really cheap. And so when we talk about the ability to use nuclear in a different way, we may be able to follow load and dispatch a little bit with nuclear, but that's not how it's been used in the past. So MG&E needs some of that dispatchability in our mix. We need to be able to manage the load that our customers have and make sure we can adapt to changing loads throughout the day, throughout the week, and throughout the year. I don't see nuclear on the horizon for us. It is not, for us, we are not we are not of the size that we can manage a project like a nuclear power plant. And so we have not been in a nuclear power plant for many years because of that risk. That's not to say nuclear doesn't have an important role in the nation's utility mix, but for MG&E it does not. We are interested, however, in going through and talking and understanding the value that nuclear provides, and how do we get those values out of other opportunities. We talked a little bit about that in a previous question. Maybe it's hydrogen, maybe it's other renewable resources, maybe it's carbon capture and sequestration that we can use to bring the value stream of nuclear without the risk associated with nuclear. So I know I said that was the last question, but I can't stop talking. So I have one more question that I would like to that has been asked of me. Can you tell us about why MG&E is so involved in our community and why other businesses might consider deepening engagement? So this is a question I could talk for a long time on, but I'm not going to because I know we're running short on time. The simple answer is MG&E is involved in the community because it's the right thing to do. This is our community. We are your community energy company. We don't take those words lightly. Those are words we say with passion. Those are words we say with acknowledgement of responsibility there. So we are engaged in our community in many different ways. You heard about a lot of them earlier that I talked about, so I won't repeat those. But it brings value streams not just to us as individuals, it brings value streams to our business. We understand our customers better. We understand what our customers are going through, and we can develop programs and service offerings to serve our customers better. I like to tell people we can serve our customers better than anyone else ever could because we know our customers better. And that's the important part as a business for being involved in the community. We also know we have 700 employees who live and work in our community. They're actively engaged in our community, and their passion for the community comes through in everything that we do. So a lot of tremendous organizations in our community. I would suggest looking into some of those and really assessing the value that you can bring. You have values, you have gifts and talents that our community could use. And if you want to talk further about this, please give me a call, and I'm happy to talk through all the different things that we do and why each and every one of them is very important. But to reiterate, it's the right thing to do. We do it because we understand our customers better. We do it because we see the need in our community, and we have an obligation and a responsibility to support our community.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this morning's Icons presentation. Again, so many cool things happening with renewable energies these days, and MG&E is really at the forefront of much of this. So it's great to hear more from such an iconic Madison company. A big thank you to Jeff Keebler for agreeing to speak to the Madison business community at this Icons program. I also want to extend our sincerest appreciation to the sponsors of this year's Icons program. Again, our presenting sponsors, WPS Health Solutions, and premier sponsors, Action Coach, Baker Tilly, and the Madison Concourse Hotel. Thank you again for your flexibility these past 15 months or so as we've had to pivot to this virtual format. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in here today and attending this virtual installment of the Icons in Business series. As I mentioned earlier, barring any unexpected setbacks in the lifting of event restrictions, we are really excited to get back in person for our remaining 2 Icons later this year. So please be on the lookout for more information in the weeks ahead. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to connecting with you all again soon in person. Thank you.